time to move out of this ugly face into some more realism, and on today's menu are the ears. Also, an honest chat about what's been happening on the art business side of things. I'll drop a timestamp soon if you're just here for the business chat. And if you didn't catch part 1 with the foundation layer, the video is linked in the description down below. Now, if you're skipping the painting and just want the biz talk, go ahead and jump to that timestamp right now. But if you're here for the painting part, let's dive into the colors I'm using today and get started. The colors on my palette are Mars Black, Payne's Gray, Deep Violet, Cadmium Red Deep Hue, and Titanium White. First things first, the brush selection. I choose an angled brush, and even though I'm pointing at the number, I don't even know if it's a 6 or a 9. My apologies. Nevertheless, an angled brush it is. I like using this type of brush, and they are very versatile. You can lay down broad strokes to cover some ground very quickly, yet they are able to create some really narrow, more precise strokes with that fine edge, either the top or the side of the brush, to indicate important areas of direction. Kind of the best of both worlds. Now, for this layer, I'm not aiming for perfection, just a semi-transparent coat of color to just start building up shape and depth. So this is a bit of a glaze, as it still allows the foundation I laid down to come through. Going in with a thick coat of paint will just instantaneously cover the work I've done, which then totally defeats the purpose. I actually like letting some of that dark peek through because it helps give that soft, realistic texture later on without having to work so hard for it. And hey, we all like things a bit easier and simpler, right? Work smarter, not harder. You've heard me say it over and over in previous videos. So the foundation gives you a guideline, a roadmap, so to speak, to either deepen your shadows or create that texture that you might be aiming for. I'm also trying to stay pretty focused, just tackling one section at a time, and in this case, the ears. It can be very tempting to bounce around the canvas, but I found that really paying attention to one area makes it easier to spot those subtle shifts in color and direction. It prevents you from getting overwhelmed. And if the layers aren't too complex and fairly easily put in, you'll be feeling good at the end of your session as a part of your painting now really starts to come together. So yeah, angled brush, semi-transparent layers, and letting those darker shadows shine through. That's the game plan for now. And in case you'd like to know what I'm working from, here is the reference photo. This photo has been slightly changed as I took the cow from its original bluish sky background and plopped it onto this black one. I find most of my reference photos on websites that offer royalty-free stock footage, and this one came from pexels.com. There's lots of cool photos that can potentially be your next painting adventure. Go check it out. But let's get back to my progress, which I will speed up a little as it's now a rinse and repeat situation, adding more of the glaze to deepen the shadows until I'm happy with it before moving on. So it's fair to say that this studio session isn't completely real time, and it will have some areas that will be sped up for the sake of time and to prevent boredom. Alright, we're slowing things down again. And yep, still rocking the same brush, no switching it up just yet. At this point, I'm starting to refine the strokes just a bit more. The base layer's in, the general color is there, and now it's just time to give things a little more structure. Well, you're going to see me using just the edge of the brush a lot here. It's kind of like drawing, but with paint. I'm picking out some of those directional lines in the fur, trying to hint at the way that the hair flows over the ear. Nothing super detailed yet, just a little more intentional, if that makes sense. It's still not about perfection, but these more distinct strokes help guide the eye and start building a sense of realism. Plus, using the same brush kind of forces me to keep things loose. I could go grab a tiny detail brush, but honestly, this one's already in my hand, so here we are, and in all honesty, once I hold that tiny detail brush, I tend to go to town, and we're simply not at that point yet. It would only complicate it at this point. Okay, so now I'm stepping just outside the lines a bit, like literally. I'm adding in those soft little flicks around the edge of the ear to hint at those finer hairs that kind of poof out and break the clean shape. It's subtle right now, especially with this darker tone, but trust the process. There is a reason for it. It's kind of like putting together a puzzle, where you know the pieces don't quite fit yet, but they're necessary for the bigger picture. Right now, these small strokes may seem really insignificant, but they're like the foundation of a house. You don't see them, but without them, everything else just kind of falls apart. These little hairs will eventually help to bring texture and depth to the ear, but they also serve another purpose, pushing the ear forward in the painting, making it feel like it's really part of the cowl and not just painted on top of the canvas. So, even though it doesn't stand out yet, that's on purpose. These strokes will help separate the ear from the background and pull it forward a bit, even at this stage. Later, I'm going to build on top of this with lighter tones, and eventually the highlights will really make it pop. It's all part of layering. It's like laying down the underpainting for the fluff. It might not be exciting yet, but it's setting the stage for those final strokes that'll bring everything together. And since I'm just repeating the same process on the other ear, I'll fast forward through the rest to spare you the deja vu. I'll jump back in once I switch to a smaller brush and a lighter paint. That's when things start to shift and we get into some finer details. But if you ever want to slow it down and rewatch, feel free to rewind. I'm not going anywhere. Time to switch brushes. Same type of brush, just smaller, a number 2 in this case. And why? Well, I'm still doing similar type of strokes, but with a smaller brush. I can be more precise and start defining those finer details without getting too wild. It's all about keeping the continuity going and making sure everything flows, even as we switch things up a little. Now I'm using a lighter, more mid-tone color to really start defining those subtle hairs in the ear. I'll pop up the reference photo for you so you can see what I'm working with, and trust me, it's important to have that reference in mind because these lighter lines in the photo are key to giving the ear texture. Without these tiny strokes, the ear could end up looking flat, and well, we're definitely not going for that. I'm following the reference pretty closely here, but also trying to keep it relaxed. Strokes don't have to be exactly in the same area as the photo shows. The goal is to make the ear look soft and fluffy, like it has some real texture to it. The placement can be a bit more at your own discretion, as long as it resembles the same type of hair texture. Well, we're going for contrast and a bit more dimension here. With that same color, I'm now starting to go around the outside edge of the ear to make it stand out a bit more. This is where the structure starts to become more obvious. It's not just a blob of paint anymore, it's starting to take some form. Now, by softly building up the edge like this, I'm creating a bit of visual separation between the ear and everything around it, which helps it pop forward without needing super high contrast. The light I'm using here isn't meant to be dramatic, it's more of a gentle nudge, just enough to give the shape a little definition. Now I'm switching gears a little and starting to build those tiny hair-like strokes along the bottom of the ear, right over that darker purple base I laid down earlier. This part is all about texture. I'm layering some strokes directly over the dark color, while others sneak in between or slightly overlap. That is actually very intentional. That variation adds depth. If every stroke landed perfectly side by side, it would look way too clean, and ears are not really clean little shapes. They're full of soft, uneven tufts of fur that catch the light in weird different ways. Now, by overlapping and spacing out those strokes, I'm attempting to create that natural, almost random fluff that real fur has. Now, the darker base acts like a shadow here, so those lighter hairs on top stand out more and feel like they're catching light without needing to go into full highlight mode. It's like sculpting with paint. Each layer builds up that texture and makes the ear feel a little more alive and realistic. I also try not to overthink the pattern too much. Some of it's guided by the reference photo, but a lot of it is just following instinct, keeping it loose. When you're too rigid with these kind of details, it can start to look artificial. So let the brush just do its thing, flicking and layering until it starts to feel right. Quick tip, if you notice me resting my pinky or the side of my hand on the canvas, that's not a weird habit, it's actually intentional. When I'm working with smaller brushes and doing those more precise strokes, it helps keep my hand steady. It's kind of like a built-in stabilizer. Especially useful when you're trying to land those tiny flicks or control textures without your brush going rogue and accidentally adding an abstract flair to your painting. So don't be afraid to use your hand for balance. Just try not to rest it in wet paint, unless smudges are part of your style. Your call. Alright, you know the drill. I'm about to do pretty much the same thing I did on the left ear to this right ear. Same brush, same technique, just flip to the other side. So rather than walk you through it step by step again and risk putting you to sleep, I'll speed things up a bit. You can still watch it come together, just in time-lapse mode, and I'll jump back in when something changes or gets a bit more exciting. Alright, let's ease out of that time-lapse mode for a moment as I'm moving into some soft glazing. As you can see, I'm adding a light glaze here just to smooth the shift between those lighter hairs at the bottom of the ear and the deeper tones heading inward. Basically, just trying to get the two sides to stop arguing and blend a little better. So let's talk about this little glazing moment. It might not look like much, but this step is so helpful when you're trying to marry two very different sections or awkwardly shifting colors of a painting together. Glazing isn't really about blending in the traditional sense. It's more like softening the edges and harshness between colors. And if glazing feels a little scary or mysterious, don't let it be. It's honestly one of those underrated tools in your painting toolkit that can really pull things together without overpowering your work. It helps you ease transitions, shift the tone just a little, and bring harmony without having to redo a whole section. Think of it like whispering to your painting instead of yelling at it. And hey, if you mess it up, welcome to the club. That's just normal. Just wait for it to dry. Go back in and adjust. Add a little more shadow here, deepen that edge there, or hit it with another highlight if needed. It's a flexible process. A bit annoying sometimes, sure, especially when you thought you were done, but painting isn't about getting it perfect the first time. It's about responding to what's happening on the canvas and just figuring it out as you go. So if you're feeling unsure or second-guessing yourself mid-layer, that is okay. That's kind of part of it. Every artist has those "what am I doing" moments, even when things are technically going well. Trust your instincts, experiment, and give yourself room to just be a little unsure. That's where a lot of the magic happens anyway. Okay, switching things up a bit. I'm grabbing a round brush and a deeper, darker color to work some of those shadows in. The nice thing about a round brush is that it's a little more relaxed. It doesn't lock you into rigid, defined lines the way that a flat or angled brush might. So if you're trying to build softer transitions or push certain areas into the background, it really helps keep things feeling natural and not overworked. So yes, grab that round brush. Now, what I'm doing here could be called a glaze, but don't get too caught up in the technical term here. It's not super watery, not super opaque, it's just thinned enough to let the colors underneath peek through and subtly shift the overall tone. You're not covering things, you're guiding them, and if you pay close attention, I'm actually placing the glaze in strategic spots rather than covering the whole part with the glaze. I'm placing my strokes more between colors than totally covering. One of the easiest ways to create instant contrast, and honestly, one of my favorite tricks, is just placing a darker color right beside a lighter one. Boom. Instant depth, instant interest. It pulls the eye in and helps define form without overcomplicating things. It's a simple move, but super effective when you're trying to make certain areas pop. And a bit of trial and error is normal. And sometimes it's those little adjustments that make the piece come alive. All right, let's shift gears. The art business chat as promised. Let's talk about my website progress, the challenges of setting up my print-on-demand store, and some of the personal struggles that come with running my own business. So let's dive in. All right, the website. Well, the website officially launched right before Christmas. Yay! And I've been slowly chipping away at it ever since. And while it's still a work in progress, I'm proud of what's already there. I've added quite a few of my pieces to the portfolio, and instead of just slapping on a title and calling it done, I've taken the time to write little backstories and personal thoughts behind each painting. It makes it feel more like an experience than just a gallery, which was important to me. This website should feel like a little resting place, a pause in your busy day, so to speak. I also added a privacy policy and terms of use. Yes, I know, super thrilling, but it matters. I have to stay on the right side of the law and let people know that I'm serious, that this isn't just a hobby blog, but a real business. Now let's talk about the big important thing that is such a key to running a profitable business, or at least I hope it'll be, the online shop. It's still not live. The print-on-demand part is the thing I really want to get going, but it's also the part that keeps making my brain short-circuit. There are so many moving pieces. Making sure my images are high-res enough, figuring out what products actually make sense with my art, having to still learn the back end of the store after I figure out how to set it up and link it to the print-on-demand service, and making sure everything integrates smoothly. It's like trying to set up a mini factory while still being the artist, web designer, and customer service rep, all in your pajamas. I've ordered sample pieces of prints, but they're still in the box. I haven't opened it, and it's been sitting in my house for over a month, just because I am a little scared I might get disappointed with the quality. Why do I think in negative what-if scenarios? I mean, for real, girl, those prints could be amazing. And there's also that fear of, what if no one buys anything? And then poof, instant self-doubt, but I know it's worth doing. It's just not as easy as throwing a shopping cart button on a page and calling it a day. It takes time and discipline. And that's another thing I want to address. Self-discipline. Being self-employed sounds dreamy, right? Work when you want, in your own space, doing what you love. It is great, except for when it's not. Because self-discipline, yeah, that's not always a thing. There's no boss breathing down your neck, which is awesome, but also means there's no boss reminding you to stay on task when life is doing its best to distract you. And as a parent, there are always distractions. Sick kids, groceries, appointments, school events, your own mental health, the list goes on. I'll just sit down for 5 minutes and then, oh no, it's dinner time. It's so easy to feel like you're not doing enough, even when you're doing everything. And that balance between pushing yourself and not pushing yourself over the edge, that is a daily juggle. The next point is marketing. The thing I didn't sign up for, but apparently I have to learn anyway. Honestly, if I could just paint, post it, and have people magically show up or have traffic just magically flood to my website, that would be ideal. But it turns out building an art business also requires knowing how to talk about what you do without cringing, and guiding people to your website or YouTube channel in a confident and engaging manner. Well, I used to tell myself I was just bad at marketing, which, surprise, made me bad at marketing. Lately, I've been challenging that mindset, and I've been grabbing books from the library, trying out different approaches, learning, and mostly just reminding myself that not everyone starts out great at this stuff. Even though some are born with a sales pitch from the beginning, for me, it's a skill to be developed, definitely not a personality trait. So instead of hiding from it, I'm trying to meet it head on with potential messy attempts, awkward captions, maybe occasional success. It's slow going, but I'm not giving up, and my very next biggest marketing step is business cards. I got this. So yeah, it's a lot. It's challenging, rewarding, overwhelming, and exciting all at once. And honestly, it's all still a work in progress. Well, that's where we'll stop today. The ears are mostly done, but not entirely finished. Just a few final details that will come later. Now, the after photo does show that I worked on the forehead and eyes as well, but those will be covered in a different video, so make sure you're subscribed and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next video covering this cute purple/pink cow. And hey, if you're also trying to grow your art biz, while juggling life and responsibilities? I see you. We're doing this together. Let's chat in the comments. Stay happy, keep your peace, and God bless you. Bye-bye!